We didn't think we'd make it this far. Now what? Now what do we do?
Yeah, I basically just did everything in the world to not go to hell.
I don't want to be reincarnated as a fly.
Yeah.
Come on now. Are you even a real Christian? Are you going to convert, Hallie?
You know how many times people have asked me that and have asked you that?
Are you going to convert?
No.
I said, then why are we wasting our time if this is not going to work?
I know, I feel emotional. I teared up a little bit. Now I'm tearing up again. Here we go.
This week, we're going to be talking about religion. Here we go. I am Hindu and my wife is Christian. What are we going to do about that? How the heck are we going to make this work? The amount of questions that we receive on the topic of religion is astronomical because so many of you deal with this in your own lives. I'm very excited to talk about this topic. Let's get into this Half Past crew. Welcome to
Half Past Cha.
Guys, welcome back to another episode. We are so excited that you are here. My name is K2.
My name is Hallie.
And if you don't already know, we are an interracial couple.
We're married!
I'm Indian.
I'm super white.
And that's what we talk about. We talk about being an interracial couple. We talk about relationships in general, but we also get questions from you because you guys go to www.halfpastshot.com where you submit your own questions and stories. We release new podcast episodes every Monday at 7 a.m. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. Like this video if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're not, if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars and follow the pod so then you will be notified the next time we post, which is Mondays at 7 a.m.
Oh.
Settle in, get cozy, and grab your jaw. And let's get into it. All right, guys, we have a question that came in, and I was like, dang, is this person like living our life?
Yeah.
Because it was very similar to our situation before we got married. So we wanted to read it. It's from Jade. Thank you for submitting, Jade. She went to www.halfpastshot.com and submitted the question. And look at it. It's on the pod. You created a whole episode out of this question. So
you inspired us so much because this question, I'll read it here in a second, but it's very relatable, okay? So we were going through our questions as we normally do, and this one just really struck a chord with us. And I felt that it would be really good to share because one, it's very relatable to other people, but very relatable to us. And we've lived through it and we have some advice. We have some other questions and topics we're going to bring up within the question, but it pertains solely to religion and how you can make that work in a relationship if you and your partner are different religions, because people get really bent out of shape, you guys.
Very triggered people out there. And just before we read the question, we did do an episode on religion with Calvin. He has a podcast called Cult Turd. It's fantastic. So go check him out. I'll leave the link below of the podcast that we did with him. It did fantastic. People really enjoyed it. And so if you are interested in seeing that episode, we go into way more depth in that episode. This one's just going to be covering the specific question.
Yeah. So with that, let me get started, you guys. Like we said, we got a question from Jade. Hi, guys. I wanted to say I've been watching your videos and they are so cute and relatable. Thank you. I am an American woman about to marry a South Indian man. I was wondering, since you are different religions, how do you make it work? I am Christian and he is Hindu. He said he is okay with attending church with me, celebrating Christian holidays, and raising Christian children in the church as long as they can go to the temple and such. He has only been to temple once in 10 years, so he's not an extremely practicing Hindu. And I don't go to church much, but I am firm on what I believe. However, he is the best man that I've ever dated, and I don't want to lose him over something like this. So if you both can relate, then how do you make it work? Man.
Fantastic question. I think religion is very important, and it can make or break a relationship. It can. I know that I have seen people that have come up to me and be like, hey, I'm looking for a Christian man or a Christian woman. And like that, they'll say that to me as in like, this is my categorical group, and that's the only people that I want to see and meet and pursue. So I think that is the times where it's like, okay, this person really just wants to go for that, and that's totally fine. But if you fall in love with that one person who's not the same religion as you, and you want to put in the effort, it does take a lot of effort. It's not very easy, but it works. It can work.
It can be done. And I just want to preface by saying that I think the biggest thing to take away from this is that it really depends on how religious the people are. Not always. But if you're with somebody who is very Christian or very Catholic, for example, they are going to want to strictly stay in their religious community, at least in what I've experienced. Like, Christian people usually always say, oh, well, like, I'm looking for somebody who's Christian. And Catholic people, I'm looking for somebody who's Catholic. And I get it. It makes sense. I mean, certainly, no hate. It makes things a lot easier.
But if they do find somebody who isn't, then there's the topic of conversion.
There has been that conversation, hasn't there?
Yeah. And so that is something that also comes up that I do want to discuss. But before that, there's same-sex marriage. There is interracial there's interracial marriage, but interfaith marriage is something that isn't talked about very much. And I know we get a lot of comments saying, "Oh, it's your life, do what you want," but at the end of the day, there's so many people out there that are against it or making comment towards it. So you have to address the situation to be able to be like, okay, this is why we did it, and this is how it works. So I think that's what we're here to do today. It's just a topic that isn't talked about a lot.
Yeah, and a lot of people are so pressed about it because, and maybe before we were together, I could see their point of view, but now having lived and experienced it, to me, it's not that big a deal, but like other people which no hate to anybody at all, right? Like, I'm fine with whatever people want to do. Like, live your life. Okay, I'm not here to tell you otherwise. But I think people have such a problem with it because they think religion is a lot of your core beliefs, right? And it gives you a lot of guidance in your life. And people don't understand, well, if you have different core beliefs than this person, then how are you going to make it work? They just can't fathom that.
Are you going to convert, Hallie?
You know how many times people have asked me that and have asked you that?
Are you going to convert?
No.
See, the thing with converting is, why would you want somebody to convert to a religion that they don't fully believe in? I have met people, I have seen people who will just convert because they met this person, they want to make them happy. They're like, oh, it'll make my wife happy. Oh, it'll make my girlfriend happy. And they don't truly believe in the religion itself. And I'm just like, man, I feel like you should really be to your core belief when it comes to that. Like, I still to this day think religion is an individual thing that you have a relationship with God, right? You and God. I think that is something that I always try and consider. It's whatever you believe in. And if you have a partner that believes in something else, I think that's okay. I don't think it's going to like make or break something. And at the end of the day, a lot of religions have similar core beliefs, okay? Similar.
They're different, but at the root of all of the beliefs, they have similar ideologies. Okay?
So that brings up a question. Mm-hmm. Are you even a real Christian?
Oh my gosh. You know how many times I've been asked this? Yes, I am, because I believe myself to be.
Am I a true Hindu?
Who is to define that other than yourself?
Exactly. Yeah, I think this is something that is asked very frequently. And then so sometimes when I'm like, yeah, no, I'm Hindu. And then they'll be like testing me like, oh, do you know this? Do you know that? And they'll test you. They're like, do you know these proverbs? And I'm like,
hello.
This is kind of crazy that you think that a person who is devout and knows what they want to believe in knows every single detail of that religion. I don't think that's what it's about. I think it's about something that's a way higher, bigger picture when it comes to religion. When I grew up with this, I know almost every single hymn that goes with Hinduism. When it comes to like growing up, I sing it every single night or every time I went to school or whatever it was, like during a test, I would be able to, like, I would say these things that I just know. And that's what I've grown up with. That is what I am comfortable with. And I feel very close to it in my heart.
And they've given you peace in times where you've needed that, in times of despair, which is what religion is for, is it not?
Yeah.
To give you comfort and guidance and a higher purpose.
And there's also like the whole aspect of family. Mm-hmm. And I just want everybody to know out there, don't let anything around you choose your partner. Okay?
That's like the lesson. We reiterate that every single time we do a podcast.
Why would I let any external force dictate who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with?
I know, it's your decision. People get so caught up in semantics, okay? Oh, that's the word that you said. Do you remember?
Semantics.
You said the word semantics, and I was like, wow, you know that word.
Sorry that you don't think my level of thinking is high enough.
You said
my
it.
comprehension and vocabulary.
I was like, wow, I've never heard you say that word before. Good job. That's a big word. It's really not that big a word. It's not that deep. Side note. But yeah, people get so caught up in things that I'm not going to say that they don't matter. You know, religion does matter. If you're not religious, you're not religious. If you are, you're religious. You know, great, whatever. But people like to get caught up in the nitty gritty of, you know, we both are religious in our own ways.
And we got caught up in the nitty gritty, and that's why
we did.
It was a reason why we broke up. It was one of the reasons.
Yeah.
Okay, it was. And we're going to talk more about that, but before we go into it, I want to talk about how we were raised, okay?
All right.
What would you say your main morals were as like a kid growing up?
That's such a deep question
just
for
like
a
morals.
7-year-old kid.
No, like maybe like
Yeah.
10, 12, high school. Like what were you like, this is what I believe in and this is what I'm looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I just believed to always be kind to everyone. You know, saying, I mean, it goes for, I would say probably a few religions, don't quote me on that, but in Christianity, they always say, love thy neighbor. So, you know, always be kind to people.
And we got the whole karma thing.
Oh, that's right.
You gotta have good karma to have good dharma. Okay.
There you go. So that was one of your huge beliefs. For me, yeah, be kind, spread positivity. I don't know. I guess just don't do terrible things. I mean, I don't know. Just in general, be a good human being is how I held myself to that standard growing up.
And that's fantastic. Guess what? I had
You
the
did
same
too?
thing.
No way!
It's crazy.
That's insane.
That I was like, let me be kind to others and hopefully I get that back.
Yeah. What's the saying? Treat others how you would treat yourself, or treat yourself how they want. Wait, what am I on crack?
Yeah, treat others how you want to be treated.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm on crack. Okay.
That's something that I think a lot of people were taught when they were kids. And there's I guess another belief system part that I had was make sure when you're doing a task, like do it to the best of your ability. So I think that was something I always lived by. Like everything that I ever did, that was one of the morals that I had. So people who didn't do that, I would always be like, oh, come on, just give your full effort. And the reason I give that example is because we were put in so many like group projects and stuff. And there's always that one freaking kid that never put in the effort. And so like I had to, or somebody else had to like make up for that effort. So that's one thing that I always lived by. And I think those were the main two. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I think one of the things I just remembered, obviously, which is big in Christianity, is the 10 Commandments. So that was something that I loosely adhered to. I mean, some of these are pretty strong, like thou shalt not kill. Didn't do that one.
Dang it.
Thou shalt not steal.
Shoot.
But like honor thy mother and father. Did that, obviously. I wanted to respect my family and the people that I loved. So, I mean, there are 7 others, but you know, like in general, in religion, you hear those preached over and over again, and you like to adhere to them, you know, just to know that you're being a good person, being a good human, because we're all human at our core, aren't we?
You don't want to go to hell.
No. Yeah, I basically just did everything in the world to not go to hell.
I don't want to be reincarnated as a fly.
Yeah.
Come on now.
I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to burn in hell. I would say that was like my biggest fear growing up, is that like I'm going to burn in hell someday. So I was like, I can't do anything bad.
Hallie's the kid that used to say HE double hockey sticks. Is that how you say it?
I did. Wait, did you know that? Wait, have I told you that?
I just assume.
Oh, okay.
HE double hockey sticks.
I mean, like, yeah, I didn't say any bad words until, that was another thing. Like, I never cussed in my life.
I never cussed until I hit 9th grade. And then I was like, you know what? This F word sounds pretty dang good.
This sounds pretty fun.
And then 10th grade hit and I just said it. Every other word was an F word. Like it was bad.
Oh, so you were trying to be cool.
I was trying to be cool.
Oh.
And
I think we all went through that stage.
I think that's when I was like, dang, like I need to control myself a little bit. And I think you cussed a little bit because
you were a bad influence on me.
I used to cuss a lot.
Yeah.
I don't cuss that much anymore.
You cuss more than anybody I know.
Well, not on this podcast.
We're family friendly, everybody.
Mother.
Wow, you really. I mean, yeah, we're different in real life, obviously, than we are on this podcast because we want everybody to watch. We want this to be here for everybody. So, yeah, but I would say that was like, I remember being younger. And not that I went to a super, okay, I just want to start off by saying I didn't go to like a super insane religious church where people were like, you're going to go to hell. No, it's just like, you know, hell's not a good place. So be a good person and you won't go there. But then, you know, just because it was so nonchalant, that kind of instilled a fear in me. So I was like, I want to be a good person. I don't want to go to hell.
I do want to say something about that. I think there's a lot, like religion itself has a bad name to itself because there are churches like that.
There
are like
mega churches and
those mega churches. There's those pastors who are like multi billionaires flying
Joel
around.
Osteen.
Yeah, that one guy who's super scary and like that is crazy to me. And they're taking advantage of the whole free tax system in America. And that's something like
you shouldn't be profiting off of religion.
Yeah, that's not something to look at.
It's wrong.
That's why I always say religion is very individualized. I think it's something that I always try and make sure that people know, like, as an individual, you yourself can be religious. You don't have to go to church. You don't have to go to the temple. We have our own little mandir upstairs, and I think that's something that I like doing to make sure that I pray whatever I need to do, right? And you know, if something happens or if you want to, praying at night, I think that's a normal thing. You don't have to go to these things. And I've always believed that. Like I really don't like the fact that people talk bad about people who don't go to church. People talk bad about, I hate that.
Yeah.
That makes me so mad.
And I mean, I'm happy to go to church. Like, believe me, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, I'll go, you'll come with me. Like, granted, my church is like 35, 40 minutes away. So, I mean, it's not like super convenient, which it's only once a week. But like
nowadays, you can just go online and
I have done that before. Yeah. Like because I grew up going to the same church that I've gone to that church my whole life essentially. And then when we moved away from it, I haven't gone since then. And I never really wanted to switch churches just because I liked mine so much. And I'm very, like, I've known the pastors there for like 10 plus years. And one of my youth pastors that, you know, I knew growing up, he married us. And so like, it's really, it's a special place to me. So I haven't wanted to switch. But it's always been a good time when we go. And again, the church that I've gone to in my area of Christianity is very, like, I don't know how to, they're not old timey, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
They're the one that plays some music, you have a good time.
But they're also not like flying through the air. So it's like a nice in between. So I like to think that has made me well-rounded into who I am today, because it's not on one extreme end or the other. It's right in the middle.
And so going back to that question of religion, right? The question I want to ask, why can't we make this work? Why can't we? Because that's what she's asking. Jade's like, why can't we?
Great question. Why can't you? I mean, you can. I mean, we're kind of living proof of that. I think the biggest thing that people have to be is open-minded and open to discussion.
Talk about it. Communication, guys.
Talk. I think that's the biggest thing. So many people are afraid to bring up the conversation. I mean, we were.
And then now,
because I was scared of the outcome.
That's very scary. And then another topic to talk about: parents. Oh my God! What if your parents say no because they're not the same religion? What do you do then? What are you supposed to do?
Your parents say no.
What did I say at the beginning of this podcast, guys?
Can you just reiterate it? Can you say it again for the people in the back?
Don't let external forces dictate who you spend the rest of your life with. My goodness gracious. How hard is that to understand?
It's not. Get it through your head, but in a nice way, because I love you and I care about you. But
and be nice to your parents.
Yes. You can have the conversation in a respectful way. That's the biggest thing to take away from this, is that the biggest thing that I was afraid of was the outcome of the conversation. I remember several instances before we broke up that I was so scared to talk to you about getting married someday. Because, like, we fell in love. We fell in love fast, okay? I was scared to talk to you about getting married because I knew we were two different religions, two different cultures. And I was like, oh my God, how do I make this work? How do we make this work? How do I even bring up the conversation? I don't know what to tell my parents because my parents they also want to know. And like, I don't know what to tell them. And it was a spiral, a never ending spiral of all these questions. And I was so afraid to talk to you, which you're the one person I needed to talk to it about, but I couldn't make myself do it. And because every time we did,
Yeah.
there was one time that left a bad taste in my mouth for the other times, but we had an argument about it. It was like one of our first few arguments. I mean, I remember the first one was because a guy put his arm around a picture.
Okay.
Put his arm around me in a picture, and you got mad at that. But so it was like our second or third argument, you guys. But I was so scared after that to bring it up because I remember specifically you pulled up a YouTube video on a like Hindu Christian wedding, and you're like, this is how it's gonna work. We have to do it like this, and I was like, what? Why can't we do our own thing? Why can't we figure it out? And it was like a really weird, just conversation. I don't know, but it left me feeling very uncomfortable and very uneasy inside.
It was overwhelming.
Yeah,
It was like, okay, like we didn't think we'd make it this far, you know.
Now what?
Now what do we do? Like, we got to make it work now.
Well,
And
because
so-
it's such a social norm that people can't fathom two different kinds of people I mean, obviously now it's better, but like in 2015-ish, you know, I don't know. We weren't where we are today, realistically.
after that discussion, I said something that caused the breakup. Okay, I said, then why are we wasting our time if this is not going to work? That's what I said. Mm-hmm. And that hurt Hallie
Obviously.
for good reasons.
Yeah,
right?
I have feelings.
Yeah.
Man.
Makes sense. And so I said it, and I was like, my parents want me to be with an Indian girl because it's easier. Everything is easier. It's always going to be easier with this person with the same religion, with the person who looks just like you. It's always going to be easier.
Always going to be easier.
But why would you want that when you can have this beautiful blend of beauty and culture and amazingness? Come on now. Come on. All right. So this is what happened. We broke up. I
did.
said those words. My bad. I'm sorry.
I mean, it
And-
was much more than that, but let's
It was
just
a
sum
lot.
it up by saying that
was a
it
lot.
was your bad.
But guess what? Love is love, and soulmates are going to find a way back to each other. And that's what we did.
Yeah,
we broke up.
Hence our video that we posted that everyone's like, story time, because yeah, it was the one where we're like, look at where we are now, basically. Remember when you broke up with me 8 years ago? Here we are. Now we're married.
Now you know. So this is something that it can work. So the answer to your question, it can work and it will work. You just have to have that growth mindset. Okay. So how will we make it work?
You just have to block out everybody around you.
Number one, block the haters.
Block them out,
Number
including
two-
your parents, because you'll get it.
Number two, realize where your similarities are.
Mm-hmm.
How are you two similar? How are you two different? Okay. Look at the similarities, and I bet you will have so many similarities when it comes to your morals, when it comes to the things you like to do, what your future looks like to each of you. And I bet you it will align very well. And that's why it's going to work. Now, if you look at your differences and that starts to stack up, maybe you should start looking into that a little bit and understand why those differences exist.
Look inward.
Okay, number three, be curious. Be curious. That is part of having a growth mindset. Okay, you have to question things. If you don't understand something, question it.
Don't go with the flow. That's a lesson that I learned too late in life, is to not question things and to just do what other people told me. It's not worth it.
And this happens because to Americans, okay, this happens in America because most people grow up in the same place, in the same area. They never move out of their parents' area. Like, they'll just live in Indiana their whole life, and they just won't get to experience the world, okay? And that is where you stop questioning life. That is when you stop questioning the things around you, and that is the problem.
Because you're comfortable.
Stop being
Complacent.
comfortable. Go ask some questions. Go
Go figure yourself out. Because I guarantee you, you need to break away from people a little bit to figure yourself out. And if you haven't done that, then you start to have more and more issues in figuring out who you are as a person and identifying who you really are and what you really want out of life.
I need you guys to really take that to heart. And if you are with your significant other and you don't know something about them and you're afraid, like Hallie was afraid to start the conversation because she knew what direction it was going in. You have to have those tough conversations to be able to make it past the harder stuff than just the talking.
Yeah.
And so that's word of advice.
Well, I remember, I told people for so long, it feels like we're already married, because we had to deal with a lot of issues to come together that a lot of couples don't necessarily have to deal with. But I truly believe that people have soulmates, and we did whatever we could to make it work because we love each other so much.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to just walk away because it would have been easier, I'm sure. But I mean, I don't know that I could have gone through life wondering if I hadn't tried, what would have been the outcome of that? Like, I would never know if if we hadn't had those uncomfortable conversations. We had so many of them to try and make this work, because I was getting questions from my side. You were getting questions from your side. How are you guys going to make this work? I mean, people were always asking, is there going to be converting that's happening? Blah, 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 blah. And then now with so many people online, obviously we're married, so it doesn't hit as hard as it did back then.
We made it out, guys. We made
did.
it out.
And I think the biggest thing that I want people to take away is you are your own person. Religion is something that is special and sacred to you. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Don't let anyone tell you who you can be with or who you can't be with based off of their own opinions and their own issues that they have within themselves and insecurities.
And if you're afraid of what are our kids gonna be like, or people asking, what's your kid gonna be like? Are they gonna be a Christian? Are they gonna be Hindu? I have a comment here that I want to read, okay? I have a hardcore Orthodox Christian father and a devout Hindu mother. And I turned out to be divinely spiritual. If you want them to be devout Christians and you raise them that way, then you raise them that way. If they end up wanting to be a different religion, that's their choice, right? Like, you can't force these things on anybody. Like, it's just not something you can force. I grew up in India where everybody around me was Hindu, so I was going to be Hindu. That is just a natural act that was going to happen because this is what I was surrounded with. Hallie was in Indiana, around a bunch of Christians, and that is what she was going to grow up as. I mean, if Hallie was growing up in India right next to me, she would have been Hindu too. So you can't control that. Like, that is not something you can control. Whatever you are surrounded by is usually how you will be raised, and that is inside of you. Maybe I shouldn't say it that way. But it's there, okay? It's there. That's just how it's gonna be.
God's inside of you.
Hey,
I don't mean it that way, but I've seen it.
That's just how it is. All right. I want Hallie to read the next comment here.
Ironically, she has a very Hindu attitude now. The fact that she works hard, but she doesn't overly care about the results.
I wanted her to read that because there's a reply to this comment from Calvin. So read that one.
Yes, not far from the Christian ideal. Take therefore no thought for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself.
Kind of goes back to the point of religions are very similar. And I know there are some comments that we got on this specific podcast that we did with Calvin, and it was like, try saying that with the Islam religion or anything like that. And that religion is more strict. There are more rules. But guess what? I've seen more than a lot. I've seen a lot. Okay, I've seen a lot of couples that made it work, even if they were Muslim and they were with people who are not. It can happen. It can work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort, but it can work. Okay, so that's just something about religion itself is so individualized.
And nothing hard in life is ever easy. Yeah. Our relationship is fantastic, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was not easy to obtain. We had to really look inward in ourselves and work on a lot of things personally to be able to be together. Which I know to a lot of people that might sound like, oh, well, you guys aren't made for each other. No, it was more so just because of our differences, really figuring out, okay, I don't need to listen to anybody around me. This relationship is about you and me, and same to you. We love each other. How can we make this work?
And we made it work. There's a lot to it, I think.
There's a lot more to it that we cannot cover in one full episode.
It's just, it's a lot of just having the right discussions and not getting mad at each other.
Oh my gosh, that's key. Please, yeah, just try your hardest not to get mad. It's one of the things that it's like inevitable. Religion, politics, I mean, there are other things, but they can just make you mad and feel triggered so easily. So approach the conversation gently with an open mind and try and be understanding of your other party.
All right, next comment.
My wife is Hindu and I am a Protestant. We are just like any normal couple in a relationship. The community can be hard at times on us, but at the end of the day, what matters is the people that love and accept us. For everything else is in the background. Yeah, that's amazing. It doesn't matter. I mean, again, this goes along with the theme of blocking out external people because you really just need the love and support of the people that are closest to you and that you actually interact with. That's why comments don't bother us, because literally there are so many trolls behind a screen that they don't, like, we'll never see them in real life. They're not our friends. They're not our family. They're not people who we're going to find ourselves interacting with. So why do their opinions matter?
Yeah, I 100% agree. And this next comment is one of my favorites. It has to do with something that I mentioned in this podcast.
My wife is Christian here in Ireland, and I'm from India. I never asked her to leave her religion. My religion is Sikh. We both visit church and our temple. I enjoy Christmas, and she enjoys my festivals. This is how we're having a great life. I love that. I love that so much.
It's possible. That's all I got to say. And the people who do try and make it work, they never regret it. They always come out stronger and happier.
And have a greater perspective on the world and life itself. I mean, that's huge. That comment is amazing. I love that two people are able to realize that they are human at their core, differences aside, celebrate each other's differences rather, and make it work and love each other even more and have an amazing life. Isn't that what it's all about? I mean, really think about that. That's amazing.
It's fantastic.
And that's what I can only dream to still accomplish in our lives. I mean, it's been so beautiful that we've been able to share so much of our culture with each other.
To me, I think my life has gone. I'm trying to think about like what my life would have been if I had just gone with what my parents had said. Or married an Indian girl. It would have been fantastic. My life would have been great. But at the same time, I wouldn't have been introduced to all the different cultures and traditions that she has experienced in her life. And then same for her. Like, she's gotten a chance to go to India. I've gotten a chance to go to Florida to her family vacations. And like, I never went to Florida for family vacations. Like when I was a kid, like that didn't happen, right? I went to India. And so I got to take her to India. There's just different things that I know it may not seem like much, but for me, when I went to Florida with them, it was a huge thing for me. It was just like going to India for her. I know it doesn't sound like it would be crazy, but it was my first time seeing the ocean. It was my first time on the beach. It was insane. It was the coolest experience I ever had.
We have a lot of firsts with each other.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that, I mean, yeah, not to compare Florida to India because you really can't, but to your point, it was the first time you saw the ocean. And you went to California with me for the first time. And you've traveled and done lots of things with me for the first time, just like I visited India for the first time with you. Yeah. And we had so many firsts together, and I think that's so special. And, you know, like, for example, it is Navaratri season. So, like, Garba is coming up.
Look at that.
I was very excited about that.
I don't think Hallie would have done Garba if she married a white boy.
No, I never would have even known what it was. I would have been like, what's that? I have no idea. But the fact that we're able to go and celebrate and do Raksha Bandhan with your sisters, like that was a recent thing as well. And, you know, like Thanksgiving and Christmas are coming up, and you love Christmas time, and it's such a special time of year. I mean, I've said this before, but it really transformed my world from black and white to incredibly colorful, bringing you into my life and doing all the things that we've done. It's like an explosion of color.
I'm going to get emotional if we talk about this
I know,
anymore.
I feel emotional. I teared up a little bit. Now I'm tearing up again. Here we go.
This is our answer to how to make a multi-faith / religion relationship work. Like, it can, okay? It can work. You just have to try a little harder. But nothing good in life is easy, all right? If you want to make it work, you can make it work. It's gonna be difficult, but it'll be worth it in the end. Jade, thank you so much for submitting this question. If any of you out there have another question, please go to www.halfpastshot.com to submit your own questions or stories. Do you have any final thoughts? Anything else?
I just love that so many people are coming around to the idea of making relationships work based, like it's going to be hard. It's a struggle to try. And not always. Maybe it's not a struggle. Maybe some people have situations where they're like, oh, we're two different religions, or like, you're not religious and I'm religious. Like, that's wonderful. Like, we can be together. I love that people are just coming around more so to the fact that you can be with somebody. It takes work, but if you love somebody, don't let that go. Don't ever let that go, because you have something so special that's not worth throwing something away over not wanting to have a hard conversation. Don't do that. Come on, try and work it out.
This was great. I'm so glad that you guys were able to listen to this episode. If you made it this far, the comment is
happy anniversary, because our anniversary is tomorrow.
Oh my gosh. Happy anniversary to us.
Yeah, it's our 3rd wedding anniversary. Can you guys believe that?
We've been married for 3 whole years. Didn't think we'd make it this far.
It's been because of a lot of hard conversations that we're here.
We're different religions, so I was like, yep, we're definitely not making it this far. It's not going to happen.
No, not happening.
Look at us now.
Here we are, baby.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Half Past Crew, we love you. Thank you for the support. We are so excited to continue growing this podcast and this community. As always, we will see you next Monday at Half Past Job. Hello, mate. Hallie has an announcement for ya.
Okay, everybody, and as promised, you're here. Thanks for sticking to the end. We hit 5K subs. We're over 5K subs, actually, which we are so freaking pumped about. So thank you for being here. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Guess what? We are releasing merch, and it will come out on Monday, October 14th.
Let's go.
You guys are going to love it. I promise. Get ready, because you might need something. It will be drinkable and wearable.